Death of a Dragon, the rise and shocking demise of Bruce Lee. For decades, the world believed Bruce Lee died from a tragic accident, just another Hollywood misadventure. But now, buried evidence reveals a darker, more heartbreaking truth behind the dragon's sudden death. At the height of his fame, Bruce Lee stood as a proud symbol of Chinese heritage. Yet, in a twist of fate, he wasn't born in China, but in San Francisco, California, on November 27, 1940. Though both his parents were Chinese, Bruce entered the world on American soil, embodying a dual identity that would define his legacy. But America was never meant to be his first home. Bruce's parents were only in San Francisco briefly. His father, a touring Cantonese opera singer, was on a U.S. stop, but the timing granted Bruce American citizenship. Just 4 months after his birth, the family returned to Hong Kong, and that's when everything began to fall apart. Returning to Hong Kong should have been a homecoming, but it was a powder keg. In 1941, as World War II raged on, Japan invaded the British-controlled city, plunging Bruce's childhood into chaos and conflict. Still, fate had other plans for the boy born between two worlds, and Bruce remained destined for the silver screen. Even in the shadow of war, and despite the hardships his family endured, Bruce's father stayed active in opera and film. Thanks to those connections, Bruce made his acting debut in Golden Gate Girl as a baby. It was the start of a life lived on camera. Bruce's parents were content to watch their young son shine, but they weren't strangers to the spotlight. When Bruce starred in The Kid at age 9, his father co-starred beside him. Together, they were a family of performers. But Bruce was just getting started. With several roles under his belt, Bruce adopted a stage name reflecting his identity, Lee the Little Dragon. Born in both the year and the hour of the dragon, he embraced the mythology. But dragons don't only act, they fight. So Bruce started training in other art forms. Bruce's introduction to martial arts began with his father teaching him Tai Chi, but when his father fell into opium addiction, Bruce turned elsewhere. In 1953, a friend introduced him to none other than Yip Man, the legendary kung fu master. Yet, even then, Bruce hit a wall. Bruce was eager to train, but tradition barred him. His mother's European ancestry made him part foreigner, and many martial arts schools refused to teach non-Chinese students. Bruce's bloodline put him at the edge of rejection. Fortunately, he wasn't alone. Thankfully, Bruce had an advocate. His friend William Chung stepped in, urging Yip Man to accept him, despite the taboo. The master relented, and Bruce began his training, but prejudice wouldn't vanish so easily. Though Yip Man taught him Wing Chun, Bruce's fellow students refused to spar with him. Because of his mixed heritage, he was shunned, forced to train alone, often in private, with Yip Man himself. Still, Bruce didn't stop with just one fighting style. While mastering Wing Chun, Bruce broadened his arsenal. At St. Francis Xavier College, he joined the boxing team and dominated, winning a Hong Kong tournament in 1958. Yet, not all of his battles were so official. Despite warnings from his parents and Yip Man, Bruce dove into street fights. He clashed with rival martial arts students, including a brutal 1958 showdown. His skills were undeniable, but his self-control, that was still a work in progress. In 1958, Bruce Lee wasn't just skilled, he was ferocious. In a violent street brawl between rival schools, one boy dared to strike Bruce with a cheap shot, Bruce snapped. He lunged, fists flying, and didn't stop until the boy lost a tooth. The fight left more than bruises. It left consequences. Following the beating, the boy's family was furious, and they went straight to the authorities. Bruce was arrested, but his mother, Grace, rushed to the station promising to take full responsibility. Her calm, polite assurances got Bruce released. Still, she knew this couldn't happen again, and something needed to be done. Grace didn't even tell Bruce's father what happened, but the message was clear. Bruce needed a fresh start. Far away from Hong Kong street fights, she pleaded with him to return to America, and he listened. Bruce's father stayed unaware of the arrest, but he agreed Bruce should study in the U.S. So in 1959, Bruce left Hong Kong behind, moving in with his sister in San Francisco. A new world awaited him, and a new role. Not long after, Bruce moved to Seattle. There, he began teaching Kung Fu to friends, informal at first, but deeply passionate. Even as a teacher, Bruce remained a student of his own evolving style, and he wasn't done exploring other combat sports. Even while taking on the role of teacher in his own version of Kung Fu, Bruce became obsessed with Western boxing, especially legends like Sugar Ray Robinson and Muhammad Ali. He dissected their footwork, speed, and rhythm, but his sharp mind needed more than just physical training. In 1961, Bruce enrolled at the University of Washington, majoring in drama, but he also dove into philosophy and psychology. Ideas fascinated him as much as movement, and during this time, he met someone who would change his life. At school, Bruce met Linda Emery, a fellow student studying education. Romance sparked fast, but love comes with risks. Interracial couples were still illegal in parts of the U.S., forcing them to keep their relationship low-key. Their love, like his legacy, would defy rules. Bruce eventually left university in 1964 and moved to Oakland with his martial arts mentor, James Yim Lee. Together, they launched a second Kung Fu school, blending tradition with innovation, and Bruce's rising reputation caught important attention. James introduced Bruce to Ed Parker, a major force in American martial arts. Parker, impressed, invited Bruce to demonstrate at the Long Beach International Karate Championship. Bruce accepted and stole the show, but his physical prowess wasn't the only thing that shocked the crowds. What came next wasn't just skill, it was a shockwave. At Long Beach, Bruce unleashed jaw-dropping feats, two-finger push-ups, the infamous one-inch punch. But he didn't stop there. He used the stage as a chance to air out some of his grievances and to challenge tradition, accusing martial artists of clinging to outdated forms. It was bold, it was dangerous, and it made him a target. Bruce's bold ideas earned him some powerful enemies. Martial artist elders, echoing childhood prejudices, demanded he stopped teaching non-Chinese students. Bruce refused. That defiance triggered a challenge from rival instructor Wong Jack Man. The stakes were high. The fight wasn't just personal, it was political. Confident in his skill, Bruce agreed to Wong's terms. If Bruce won, he could teach anyone. If he lost, he'd close his school. The risks were clear, and the challenge was set. But accounts of what truly happened diverge wildly. Bruce claimed the fight was about racism in martial arts. Wong denied this, saying Bruce simply bragged too much, that he was the one being challenged for his arrogance. And when fists flew, both men remembered it very differently. As Wong later said, his fight with Bruce was nothing like he expected it to be. The match dragged on over 20 minutes. filled with brutal intensity and underhanded moves. He accused Bruce of fighting with raw aggression rather than honor. To Wong, the bout wasn't just exhausting, it was unexpected. But this didn't line up with Bruce's retelling. Bruce's version? The fight was over in 3 minutes. He claimed a swift, decisive win, and he wasn't alone. Both his wife Linda and his friend James Yim Lee supported his story. Regardless of who was right, the results changed everything and led to the next chapter in Bruce's life. With college behind him, Bruce poured himself into martial arts, yet never giving up on acting. At Long Beach, his performance wowed the crowds and caught the eye of TV producer William Dozier, who invited him to an audition for a TV pilot. His second act was beginning. Amid all this, Bruce and Linda stayed inseparable and took the next step in their relationship. They married in August 1964, just before the Long Beach event. Soon after, they had their son Brandon, and in 1969, their daughter Shannon. Now, Bruce had a legacy to protect, and so he returned to his passion. Bruce's first audition didn't pan out, but soon after, he landed the role of Kato in Green Hornet. As the masked hero's sidekick, Bruce used his real-life martial arts skills to electrify American audiences. Finally, Hollywood had taken notice. Though the show lasted only one season, the Green Hornet made history. It was the first American series to highlight Asian martial arts and Bruce Lee. U.S. audience had never seen anything like him, but he wasn't done innovating. By 1967, Bruce was evolving beyond traditional kung fu. He created a hybrid philosophy of combat, Jeet Kune Do, a fusion of kung fu, boxing, fencing, and instinct. It was fast, fluid, and revolutionary. He also displayed his innovation in television. Bruce dreamed of creating his own series, The Warrior, about a Chinese martial artist in the Old West. He pitched it across Hollywood, but was turned down at every door. Yet, months later, something eerily familiar appeared on TV. In 1972, Warner Brothers released Kung Fu, a show almost identical to Bruce's concept. But instead of casting him, they chose David Carradine, a white actor. Bruce received no credit. It was a betrayal in plain sight. Tired of typecasting and cultural erasure, Bruce walked away. He returned to Hong Kong only to discover he was already a legend. There, the Green Hornet had made him a household name. This time, Bruce had the spotlight and the power. Back in Hong Kong, Bruce was adored for his role as Kato in the Green Hornet, so much so that fans saw him as the star. Golden Harvest and Shaw Brothers vied for his signature. He chose Golden Harvest and signed a 2-film deal. The payoff was immediate and spectacular. Bruce delivered exactly what Golden Harvest wanted. He starred in The Big Boss in 1971 and Fist of Fury in 1972. Both shattered Hong Kong box office records, making him a regional phenomenon. But this explosive rise was just the prologue. The studio's confidence soared. Bruce was tapped for a third film, The Way of the Dragon, and this time he didn't just act. He wrote, directed, choreographed, and starred in it. With full creative control, this was only the beginning. Bruce invited his martial artist friend, Chuck Norris, whom he met back at the 1964 Long Beach tournament, to co-star as his rival. Norris flew to Hong Kong and accepted. Their clash on screen would become legendary. Bruce had begun a fourth Golden Harvest project in late 1972, but production halted in October when Warner Brothers partnered with Golden Harvest and Concord to develop Enter the Dragon. this time offering Bruce the starring role. Opportunity knocked, but at a cost. Bruce poured everything into Enter the Dragon, handling physical stunts, direction, and even writing. But during ADR recording, he collapsed. Doctors diagnosed cerebral edema, which causes seizures and persistent headaches. He recovered briefly. Bruce seemed well enough to continue planning his next major film, which he hoped would star George Lazenby. They scheduled a dinner on July 20th, 1973 in Hong Kong. But first, Bruce had other meetings that afternoon. Bruce's afternoon was jam-packed. He first met with producer Raymond Chow to discuss projects, then joined Chow at actress Betty Ting's apartment to review a script. But something felt off. During the meeting, Bruce complained of a headache. Ting offered him analgesic pain medication. He took it, laid down to rest before dinner, and never woke up. When he failed to arrive for his dinner with Lazenby, alarm bells rang. Conflicting timelines aside, most accounts agree. Raymond Chow found Bruce unresponsive at Ting's apartment. A doctor was summoned, but failed to resuscitate him. He was then rushed to the hospital and officially pronounced dead. It was sudden. It was shocking. It was a tragedy that stunned the world. Pathologist Donald Tarea performed Bruce's autopsy to uncover what caused his sudden, unexplained death. His conclusion? Bruce died from cerebral edema, brain swelling, triggered by an adverse reaction to the painkiller analgesic. But not everyone was convinced, and conspiracy theories about Bruce's demise ran rampant. Almost instantly, public outrage turned towards actress Betty Ting, the last person to see Bruce alive. Accusations flew, and she endured terrifying harassment and even death threats. But this wasn't the only shocking theory about Bruce's death. Wild theories exploded. Some believed the Chinese triad had Bruce assassinated. Others pointed to black magic. But when Bruce's son, Brandon, died in a bizarre on-set accident in 1993, whispers of a Lee family curse reached a fever pitch. Paranoid? Maybe. But some theories were harder to dismiss. In the 2018 biography, Bruce Lee: A Life, author Matthew Polly suggested a disturbing possibility. Bruce died from heat stroke. The reason? He had removed his underarm sweat glands for aesthetic reasons, robbing his body of a vital cooling mechanism. With so many questions still being poised, it's no wonder the cloud of mystery surrounding Bruce Lee's death persists to such a degree. At the time of Bruce's death, Game of Death, his fourth Golden Harvest film, was incomplete. Director Robert Clouse refused to abandon it. Instead, he stitched together archive footage and hired a Bruce Lee look-alike to finish the film. The result? Controversial, eerie, and unforgettable. Clouse had over 100 minutes of Bruce's original footage, but only used 15. The rest of Game of Death was reworked with body doubles and outtakes. When it finally hit screens in 1978, fans were heartbroken by how little of Bruce remained. Yet, even in absence, his power was undiminished. Bruce Lee fought for every inch of his legacy, from breaking racial barriers to reinventing martial arts. Though he died at just 32, he reshaped film, culture, and combat. Time magazine later nominated him one of the 100 most influential people of the 20th century. But even after death, secrets clung to his story. In 2006, Betty Ting dropped a bombshell. She and Bruce had been lovers for over a year before his death. The world gasped. In 2013, she clarified. Despite the rumors, they had not been intimate on the day he died. Still, the damage and the mystery were already set in stone. Thanks for watching History Exposé. If you love uncovering the best stories in history, hit like and subscribe to keep exploring with us. Don't forget to visit our main page, Factinate, for more incredible facts about everything.